You're out of retreat. Let's just take some luxurious breaths all the way down to where the breaths come very, very luxuriously. And see if you can find the stillness at the bottom of the breath, the stillness we share. Take another breath or two, and when you're ready, come back and to the screen and be with my eyes for a breath on this plane of existence. So, who would like to check in first? Let's see. Hey, Janet, you haven't gone first in a while, have you? Really?
I was just about to say, okay.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm glad it fit. So everybody is in the camera for Janet. Janet starting with a breath, checking in now.
So I'm feel sort of dozy, sort of sleepy. I think the time change plus the weather here made me feel like I just kept looking at the clock. It feels like it's actually about 9 o'clock, not 7 o'clock, which has kind of been the way it's been for me lately. But I've had some great news. I have a new granddaughter. My son had a baby, and I got to spend a lot of time with them today. And it was my older daughter's birthday, so we all had lunch together with the new baby, my son, who left his wife at home working, and my daughter. And it was just glorious. It was just kind of glorious just to be with all of them. So happy to be here.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Janet.
Janet.
Would someone like to go? I know you'd all like to go, but how about, can I call on you, Devlin?
Sure.
Okay, everyone in the camera for Devlin, starting with a breath. Starting now.
This week, I am happy to have invited my mother-in-law and father-in-law in to visit. They came in on Tuesday, Tuesday morning from Ohio. And so some people they ask me like, "Oh, you have your in-laws there? Like that's terrible." I'm like, "No, this is the best thing. Like
Oh,
they're a good time. They they can do their own thing. You don't have to like, oh, go do this and go do that. Like my mother-in-law walked into my house and said, "What do you need help with?" So like I'm absolutely spoiled rotten. So it's nice having them with us. The kids are all excited about it. We're just trying to, it's just nice to get to see family because they're all the way on the East Coast. We're all the way out here. So it's just, yeah, so I'm feeling very happy and fulfilled right now, just with that extra love in the house.
Mm. Thank you, Devlin.
Thank you, Devlin.
thank you, Devlin.
Oh my, did you
Thank,
enter
thank you,
what
Devlin.
from the,
Sorry, I was muted.
I'm cleaning up some stuff. Sorry.
that's what Barbara noted. It says Barbara entered the waiting room.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Let me.
But that was you, right? Not
That was
another
me, and let
Barbara.
me. It looks like two of me are trying to arrive. Let me see if I can get
I
out of here.
know.
Sorry
I
about
think
that.
I think you're out. That's okay. It doesn't get in the way of it doesn't get in the way of our Zoom if you're
Okay.
in the waiting room.
I think I've got it now.
Yeah,
Thanks for the interruption, everyone.
sure. Does somebody like to go next? Da-da-da-da. Corey. Yeah,
Sure.
starting with a breath. Everybody in the camera for Corey, starting now.
Good to be here as always. I always say that, but I do mean it always. Uh, yeah, also feeling a little tired and yeah, the time change really is takes a while to deal with. It just pitch black outside, and here too, it's been like very overcast. It's been seemingly threatening to rain for a couple of days, but it hasn't actually rained down here yet. But kind of looking forward to that. I think it's supposed to rain tomorrow, so I think it'll be like one of the first rainy days that we've had down here. So looking forward to that. And yeah, I like the seasons to change. But yeah, I don't know. It's just been a little frustrating. It's just been cloudy, but no rain. So looking forward to that. Anyway, that's all I got.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you, Corey.
Okay, who wants to go last?
I don't think it matters if I jump in now or later. It's
Barbara.
yes.
Starting with a breath. Everybody in the camera for Barbara, starting now.
It's nice just to look around. It's been a while since I've been here. It's nice to see your faces. And it is such a kind thing to have you looking at me, right? Even though we're on this construction. So I appreciate it. Yeah, I've been on a Zoom calls today and yesterday. So it's familiar, but it's not. Yeah. So I took essentially 2 months to take a retreat, and I'm back and working hard. And I have to admit, working on my balance with the news. So, and remembering having to do that again and again is coming up. So, okay. Both those things, I love my work. I'm so happy to be back. But that's also who I am right now. So that's going on. A reminder of that. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thanks, Lou.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Barbara.
Checking in with Joy, everybody in the camera for Joy, starting with a breath. Starting now.
No, I'm just grateful that the power is on.
Oh,
The wind is just horrendous here. The rain is horrendous too, up in Novato. And the rain, I mean, the wind, the last windstorm, our fence kind of twisted. And so, then the fire department comes by and they say, well, you realize your wooden fence is underneath a wooden overhang and you can't do that. So I haven't done anything with this fence and with the gate. And so, of course, this other windstorm hits it. It's already, crippled. And then I go out there and the gate it's this heavy, heavy gate that's dragging on the pavement and the wind just like a feather. And I'm out there just soaked to the skin trying to get this gate, against the wind closed again, and then cursing myself for not figuring out how to fix it before now. But anyway, that'll happen, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy.
Thank you, Joy.
Thank you, Joy.
Thank you, Joy.
Thank you all for checking in so personally and personably. Six minutes with Janet, starting with breaths. Calling your first name to the camera, starting now.
also happy to be here. Davelin. I don't remember when I first came, not that long ago, but the reason that I came was because I was having trouble speaking in front of people, or maybe had anxiety about speaking in front of people, and had some things coming up where I was going to be giving some talks, and caused me quite a great bit of anxiety, Joy. So I first came to Lee in speaking circles and then I worked with another woman who had referred me to Leon's speaking circles, and I actually spent a lot of time kind of thinking about this and working on it, and how I don't know, maybe just because maybe more than I needed to do, Barbara, but that's just what I needed to do. I just needed to, I wrote out everything that I wanted to say. It was about a 20-minute talk. Went through it with people, Corey, and I got a couple of different people to help me kind of refine what I wanted to say, wrote it all out, basically kind of didn't use that, but it was the exercise of getting my thoughts together, Lee, and worked with this one woman a couple of times, pretty intensively right before I gave the talk. And spoiler alert is the talk went really fantastically, and I did a good job. At least that was the feedback that I got, and I felt okay. I was up there. I just had a few notes for myself of things that I wanted to make sure I didn't forget, more like appreciations, Davelin. Make sure that, I didn't miss anything like that. But otherwise, I just sort of came to me, and there was all these people looking at me, and I got this kind of calmness that came over me, and I felt kind of connected to my who I was, Joy, and talked and actually like did the whole time. I mean, I really, I used up all the time, and afterwards got feedback from the retreat leader and from people that were in the retreat that it was like really great, and that I really set the tone, and that it was kind of self revealing in a appropriate way. So Barbara, I'm kind of feeling pretty relieved, wondering like if this opportunity comes again, Corey, if I'll hopefully not have to go through. I mean, the next day I woke up and it was like, oh, I felt like I didn't realize how much this had been just sort of weighing on me. It wasn't like right there in the front, but it was this low level sort of anxiety. And I thought to myself, well, here I am at this age and still being challenged and not taking the easy way out and putting myself out there, dabbling. So, it's all good. And not really thinking about the election, not really thinking about trying just to focus on, my family, what I'm doing in my life, my friends, my new little grandbaby, Joy. And, thank God that we live in a little California bubble, and just like trying not to get too caught up into the circus, I mean, it's like I felt like the whole 107 days from the time when Kamala was nominated to be the candidate to the actual election also was another kind of like this low level, she's 1 pound up, she's 1 point down. And it was kind of like, Barbara, the worst thing happened. And it was like, okay, this happened. Well, this has happened before, Corey, and it's just, all I can do is control what I can control and live my life for trying to do the best I can to be, a good citizen, to be a good friend, to be a good mother, to be a good person in this world. And so that's where I am right now, and that's what I have to say. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Janet.
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 Janet, engaging flow.
Thank you. Engaging flow.
Calm presence.
Thank you. Calm presence. Barbara?
Standing up straight and looking around proudly.
Standing up straight and looking around proudly. I like that. Thank you. Corey?
Positive ray of light.
Positive ray of light. Thank you, Corey. Evelyn?
Celebrating success.
Celebrating success. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Ah,
Ah,
yeah. So Devlin, could you move your computer or something? Because the light is glaring a little on yourself. That's oh,
You know, what?
it's a little better.
I don't
The,
know. I've been like,
A little
The
more.
overhead, the
Oh,
overhead
it's
light
the
is
overhead
right.
light. Yeah.
oh, does this help?
There we go.
That-
Oh yeah,
that-
yeah, yeah,
There we
yeah,
go.
yeah, that helps. Good. Oh, now
Yeah,
it's
I
easy.
can't see myself this time, so usually like I can, manipulate it. So
You don't see yourself on the screen
Mm-mm.
How-
No.
now?
And I
Right.
haven't
Gal-
used a Zoom.
Well, wait. Are you on gallery view?
I
Hmm?
am, but
Do you see us? You don't see us all the same size?
yeah, wait, you know what? You're not the same size. Everyone else is.
Oh, well then you're not on gallery view. Do you know what up in the upper
Yeah.
right-hand corner it says view on the upper right-hand corner of the
Yeah.
screen? If you hit it,
Wait,
what is it? What's the check mark next to it?
It says speaker or
Well,
gallery.
Yeah, hit gallery.
yeah. Let's see. How is this doing this? Because I have like the work version of Zoom, so it's a little bit
Different.
persnickety.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
you still don't see yourself. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. But you
Which is
see
the
it.
first time I've not, yeah, this is the first time I've
Oh,
not been able to see myself. Previously, I
okay.
could.
Oh, maybe you'll figure it out before the next one.
But in the
Exactly.
the far upper right corner.
Yeah,
of the
now we got
laptop-
it.
Oh, you
It's the
got it?
far right. Yeah, I
Far
got
right.
it.
Yeah.
Far
far
right.
right.
Oh, great. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay. Whew. So
See, you look good.
You know what? I
six.
still don't see myself
See how
actually.
you look?
you
You
know,
look
I
good.
have a suggestion.
Yeah.
If you go up into the drop
There, I
down,
got it.
you got rid of hide self view, or you click that.
Yeah, because I never like to look
Oh,
That's
at
that
what it
was
myself.
it.
was.
Hide self view. Oh,
That's what it
check
was.
that out.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't know. I
I need to
think
check that
like
out.
they like redo my Zoom.
So
That's the trouble I was having getting on. It was like, wait a minute, they changed it between this afternoon and now. So great. I'm glad you can see yourself.
good.
Look how
All
good you look.
right. Yay. Back to work. 6 minutes with Evelyn, starting with Brett's. Calling your first name to the camera starting now.
Ori. So, I've been really excited again, like to have my mother-in-law and father-in-law here in town because I'm very fortunate that I happened to marry someone who's not within the same race as I, but who had a family that was open to like growing and learning.
Did you call a name?
I did, Corey.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, so that was, I think, a huge deal, Janet, that like, you, as someone who's Black and you're dating someone of another race, you get a little concerned, like what is going to happen? Like, are their friends going to accept you? Is their family going to accept you? And especially as the relationship moved on with my husband. And so it's been really amazing to watch them grow and develop and like sort of have their own sort of revolution of their thoughts and processes about the way the world works. Barbara, it's, they're both like upper middle class people who came from upper middle class backgrounds of like successful folks and whatnot, and not for any sort of racist or discriminatory reasons, Lee. They just didn't interact with a lot of people of color, right? That just wasn't their social circle. And I've always felt welcomed by them. Like I never felt like this was like them having to go out of their way, Janet, to interact with me, or be nice or anything like that or wonder about me. They just were always really, really kind. But not just kind, but like I said, willing to grow and like ask me like, what's the challenging things in your life, you know? And so this is why I really appreciate them. And I really was like, it was interesting to watch Corey, 2020 when there were like all the, protests and whatnot, because my mother-in-law like took to it like no one's business. She just did all of this reading and just this historical deep dive and joined all these book clubs and just kind of like it was like a revolution for her of like her own way of thinking and not just about Black people, right? Like just kind of globally looking at rights for everyone, immigrants, LGBTQ plus, just everyone. And so it's just, and so this is what's been really nice having them come, Joy, is that it's that that conversation of like we hadn't really had a deep conversation since the election. So my mother-in-law and I were driving to go pick up my daughter, and she's like, "How are you doing?" Like, and she told me like what it's like because they're in Ohio, Lee. So that's like that they had a lot of really important things that were kind of up for the vote, and some of them came through and some didn't. And just like abortion and whatnot, like, are we going to ratify this in the state? Are we going to go and like bring in like absolute crazy people who have no cares about the civil rights of anyone, Barbara? So like, it was just nice to be able to just talk with someone who has done the reading and has done the work and has really engaged with her community and like broadened her community. And so for me, that's like a bit of an inspiration of someone who Corey just is showing me like the right route to take. So our discussion the other day was, she's like, how do I like talk to like people? Are there any sane conservative people? And like, how do I have those questions of like, why would you vote for someone like Trump? Joy. And, and we both are just like we don't understand, but like, let's try to see if there's a way to figure it out. Lee, she said that her sister is a lifelong Republican, also a wonderful person, but I don't get it. But she's just abstained from voting recently, like the last few presidential elections and whatnot, or like, wow, she's writing people in. And we kind of laughed about it, Janet, because like, is that the right thing? Or, just stick to a party that doesn't really sit with your values. But yeah, so it's interesting though to see what her approaches are, and she's just doing a lot of reading and trying to think about Corey, how she can figure out like what's like the magic statement to get someone to really engage and think outside of their box. Thank you.
Thank you, Devlin.
Thank you, Devlin.
Thank you, Devlin.
Thank you, Devlin.
Devlin, captivating mindfulness.
Captivating mindfulness. Thank you, Lee. Corey?
Intelligence and gratitude.
Intelligence and gratitude. Thank you, Corey. Janet?
Touching and compassionate.
Touching and compassionate. Thank you, Janet. Barbara?
Open and curious, and being the change. Being the change.
Open and curious and be the change. Thanks, Barbara. Joy?
High EQ, high empathy.
High EQ, high empathy. Thank you.
Thank you, Devlin.
Thank you. Devlin.
Thank you, Devlin.
We pronounce it javelin, so I don't. Thank you, Devlin. 6 minutes with Corey, starting with breaths, calling your first name to the camera, starting now.
Lee. It's pretty interesting how some of us have similar stories in terms of public speaking, anxiety, and having it sort of weigh on you in the background, or I don't know, maybe the foreground, Devlin. I've kind of struggled with that when I have some speaking thing that's coming up. I have that in the back of my mind, and it's hard to keep it from sort of taking over at times, Joy. There's times when I think about it less, and it's kind of still there, and then times when it's comes to the foreground. But I've gotten better at sort of living with that, and not. I've been more successful recently, I guess, at keeping it more at bay. Barbara. So that's been good. And I think one of the best strategies that's sort of got me to that place is just the repeated practice and exposure at work and in speaking circles and various things. It really is. It just comes down to the practice and the exposure. I've tried other things and it doesn't really compare to actually being exposed to it, Janet. But another thing is feeling the desire to want to memorize what you're going to say and have a script. And I've struggled with doing that as well. And it's hard to trust yourself and know that you're going to know what to say and that you're not just going to ramble or be incoherent. I'm still not fully convinced that won't happen, but I've gotten more confident. Lee. Excuse me. Yeah, it's been an interesting couple of weeks with the election and everything, and it's interesting how it's my feelings about it are changing as time goes on. Devlin, yeah, it's hard, at some point we have to just, I think as someone else had said, just kind of accept it and do your best to live your life, because it's basically out of our hands, and we don't really want to ruin our lives worrying about things that we can't control. But I don't know, I think it was important to kind of grieve or validate the feelings right after it happened. Joy, a lot of people are going to suffer and be negatively affected. So I think it was important to sort of recognize that, but just getting to the point now of, well, what's next? How do we move forward in a productive way, while still being able to enjoy our lives? And yeah, so kind of going through that now, and don't have any answers, Barbara, but yeah, it's hard. Some of my family members are pretty distraught still, and more so than me. It's hard to know what to tell them, and I can't say like everything's going to be all right, because we don't know that, and there's probably going to be some awful things, Janet. Yeah, it's just living with the uncertainty, I think, which has always been a challenge for me and a lot of people, but just not knowing what's going to happen and trying to live in the moment and be present and not get carried away with the worst case scenarios that could happen, Lee. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's kind of a guarantee in life, right? That there's going to be negative things that come up, diagnoses and loss of friends and family. So, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that, but I just trying to be present and focus on what I have in my life and not get too bogged down with all the negative stuff. So anyway, I think that's all I got for now. So thank you.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you, Corey.
Corey, warmth and emotional intelligence.
Warmth and emotional intelligence. Thank you, Lee. Janet?
Calm and articulate.
Calm and articulate. Thank you, Janet. Joy?
I was going to say articulate and comforting.
Articulate and comforting. Thank you, Joy. Barbara?
Looking around carefully.
Looking around carefully. Thank you, Barbara. Devlin.
Calm acceptance.
Calm acceptance. Thank you, Devlin.
Thank you, Corey. 6 minutes with Barbara, starting with breaths, calling your first name to the camera, starting now.
Joy. I know in my 1 minute, I made sure, I promised myself, it wasn't a promise, but it was, Barbara, the way you actually are right now is a bit thrown, a bit unbalanced by the news. And to be honest about it, and so that I would have to speak about that during the 6 minutes, because that's the hardest thing, right? For me, being off balance and not having figured out any permanent way to be in this next go round. I'll get there, but just listening to the four of you, Corey, and talking about your process in your life, something the endeavor to do better is calming to listen to. So I found just listening to each of you, it's like, oh, okay, I'm getting affected by it, and I'm grateful because I know that's true for me when I, Evelyn, when I talk about exactly where I am. The honesty of it, I can. It's relaxing, to be honest. It's the truth. So yeah, I have not figured out what to do. Look away, Barbara, Janet. And so, how do I proceed this time? Traditionally, for me, I would think it's about people don't understand or they're not reading, they're not able to understand what's going on at a certain level. Not true. People are making what's true for them. But I also know that, like them, I look at the news and I get afraid. Joy. So, how do I do something about just the general fear on both sides? We've got to figure out how to get this split in our country healed and quit making the other. And I'm not sure how to do it with the news structure we have today. I'm reminded of something I did in my 20s. I was a volunteer for the Corey, the Gay and Lesbian Speakers Bureau of Boston. And this was the 80s, and there's no social media, there's no TV shows about gay characters, there's no trans anything. And, 4, 5, 6 of us would go to a church, a college, a high school class, and just be willing to answer anything. You're only going to know us until you know us. It's like, why did LGBT rights happen faster than other rights? That's because we're a member of your family, Devlin. So getting to know us, just being comfortable. If, look, you don't know me, let me just ask me everything, including, yes, of course, sex questions. Like, what do you actually do in bed? I don't get it. There's the question to the women, to the lesbians, was like, okay, you don't know, so let me just love you in your curiosity, Janet. So how do I love the MAGA Republicans? How do I, and I'm not sure yet, but there's that part of me, it's like, we need to know each other better. The way the news structure works does not work. The way our entertainment industry works doesn't work for us. The entertainment industry is based on adrenaline rush. There's an adrenaline rush, they get tickets. But adrenaline rushes are so easy to get with guns and thrillers and fear. It's a cheap way of making people feel they've had an experience, but it's really hard to make a beautiful movie like It's a Wonderful Life. We'll just use that one. You feel good afterwards, like, okay, I have bad days, but I've done good things. And people, those kinds of films, just writing and constructing and holding on to those beautiful, internally changing moments where I take a step toward loving my neighbor. How do we have more of those in our entertainment? They're hard, and the entertainment industry has taken the easy way out. So a couple thoughts, that's thoughts in my head. How do we solve this? But I know being honest helps, and I thank you for all for going before me, all but Joy, because it helped me. So thanks.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thanks, Lee.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you,
Mhm.
Barbara.
Thank you, Barbara.
Barbara, compassionate leadership.
Compassionate leadership. Thanks, Lee. Evelyn.
Insightful and thoughtful seeking.
Insightful and thoughtful seeking. Thank you. Joy.
Compassionate and respectful.
Compassionate and respectful. Thank you. Corey.
Brilliant wisdom.
Brilliant wisdom. Thank you.
Good.
And Janet.
Smart introspection.
Smart introspection. Thanks, Janet.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thanks, Lee.
Barbara, do you know that you were frozen for about 20 seconds?
No, I don't. I put my screen in such a way I can't see myself.
That
might have. Okay, sorry about that.
When you're frozen, what something happens is you call a name and they don't know that you did.
Okay.
That's the you know. Good. Okay.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah. It's all right. 6 minutes with joy, starting with breaths, calling your first name to the camera, starting now.
Barbara, so much is on my mind. Again, I mean, in one of those all over the places, just, like a slideshow, but all different slides, not related to one another. It's just concerning. So, I was thinking, isn't it weird to think about location influencing our reaction to the political climate and our environment and all of these things? Really, I don't know what they all are, but I feel like there's something that enables us, Corey, to think about how the global aspect of consider all of us in it together kind of process, including the mega supporters. That it feels to me with my family, and also timing. So I have a great uncle that was part of the Underground Railroad. He was a doctor. He treated people that were escaping. He ended up dying of whatever disease it was that he was treating. But it didn't daunt anybody. And my family's always been I don't know if they put themselves in that position or that place at that time, or if they pursued it. But then the next phase was during the Depression, they housed some gangsters. They did do that. But it was like the Robin Hood type gangsters, Lee. And then after that, I mean, it just keeps going. We're very politically, reactive, maybe involved. It always churning over all the possibilities and what to do and whether it's legal or illegal. So Janet, I have that heritage, and I can't. One thing I've been going to are these meetings, these indivisible meetings, and they have an action plan. And so I've printed it out. I haven't had a chance to really go through it thoroughly, but I fully intend to, because I just can't help myself, Devlin. I just can't. And my whole family's like that. And I do come from a very multicultural family. It's really fun, and they're also funny. My sister married a Filipino. She had 3 children. One girl married a Hispanic. Another girl married a Black person. Then they had kids. And then, so it's just like a rainbow now. And Barbara, it was so funny at my granddaughter and my grandniece's wedding. Her parents were divorced, and she had to break it to her dad who she was going to marry, and the whole race thing came up, and he was Hispanic. And she said, I just told Dad, I'm so in love with this man. He's just the most wonderful man in the world. But, and the father was like, but what? But he's white. She was like, just like afraid to break the news. And, it's just the whole thing of, and then I recalled Corey, my sister was a sensei, Aikido sensei, and she was well connected with some Japanese, martial arts people. And this one wonderful, I guess she was one of the top black belts in the United States, a grandmother, came to a luau, her 25th 25th luau. And of course, my parents were there. So Lee, halfway through the barbecue, my father, who was at Pearl Harbor, his ship was the closest one to the channel. So they had to flee quickly, because if their ship was bombed, it would block the channel of Pearl Harbor, and other ships couldn't get out. And he never got over that. And so he freaked out. And then over on the other side, my sister's Filipino father-in-law was on the Bataan Death March, and he started freaking out. And so we're like, it was PTSD. And so, we just had to, as kids, we're trying to like get everybody understanding the war is over. But is it? I mean, now we have a kind of, Civil War thing going on again. And I just have to do something. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Joy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joy.
Thank you.
Sorry I didn't get to you, Janet. I was
It's fine.
Joy, highly pleasurable presence.
highly pleasurable presence. Thank you, Lee. Devlin,
Eloquent and engaging.
eloquent and engaging. Thank you. Corey,
Smart curiosity.
smart curiosity. Thank you. Janet,
Honest and thoughtful.
honest and thoughtful. Thank you. Barbara,
Whoops.
yeah, you're muted. You don't want to be.
No, I do not want to be. That was my childhood. Looking around with love and certainty.
Looking around with love and certainty.
Certainty, yeah.
Certainty. I would put an "un" in front of that.
Okay.
Was that everyone? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Joy. Ah, what a lovely, amazing, nourishing circle. And we're not quite done. Up to 2-minute completion, calling names or not. Starting with a full breath into the camera, so for the group, so that the person sees us gathering around them. So, completing with Janet, starting with a full group breath into the camera for Janet, starting now.
Interesting to go first. I don't think maybe I've gone second. I don't know if I've gone first, but I've had the same, I mean, I've really enjoyed I was tired and I was like, oh, how do I rally myself to, to participate with some energy? But I'm really happy that I did. And I'm left again with the feeling that it would be so interesting just to chat. I mean, I know that's not the purpose, but I mean, the interaction I'm so interested to ask questions and kind of know more about you, which I guess is a good thing. But completion would be, it's just nice to share similar feelings, uncertainties, just with a group. It's just nice to have that shared experience and just trying to not be arrogant. I mean, it's so easy just to be arrogant and to try to stay on a more humble plane. And I'm way at the beginning of how I deal with this, but that's what I'm trying to do. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Janet.
Janet.
Thank you, Janet.
Completing with Davelin, starting with a group breath into the camera for Davelin, starting now.
I have to agree that, today was a hectic day of meeting, back to back to back. And I was in a meeting right before, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to rush out of this meeting in time to get to my speaking circle. And I was like, nope, this is my priority. I am going to just be like, look, someone else can take over the rest of these notes. This is really important to me. It's, not only is it getting better at my speaking, but it's a bit of connection with other people from different backgrounds and different areas. And this is really important. It's those moments to just connect with others and, practice a craft. So I do really appreciate all of you and the time that we all spend together, whether it's all together or with others in the circle. So I really do appreciate that, Lee. It's a really good forum to learn and get comfortable with your voice and comfortable with that sort of allowing that breath and space to think and talk and not get too wrapped up in your own head and anxiety. I really do appreciate this time. And I've seen improvements in my, discussions at work when I have to do a presentation to the team and whatnot. I don't have the same level of like spiking anxiety. So this is a joyful and wonderful learning environment, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Davelin.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Devlin.
Completing with Corey, starting with a group breath into the camera for Corey, starting now.
Yeah, so many good things said so far. I also am curious to ask questions of everyone. It's kind of my default is to not talk about myself and ask questions, but not the forum for that, I guess. But I am also curious. But it's nevertheless good to hear you all speak and to share as well. I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving. I feel very grateful. I have a very mellow Thanksgiving routine now. My parents live very close, just about 10 minutes away. So we don't have to travel across the country or fly or we don't even really have much of a drive. So I feel very, very grateful. I know a lot of people have to deal with a lot of unpleasant travel. And fortunately, everyone in the family also hates who. So we all agree on that. And there's no arguments at the dinner table. But yeah, it's it's a good time to be grateful. That's the holiday for that. So looking forward to that and all the good food and everything. And yeah, I think that's all I got.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you, Corey.
Hmm. Completing with Barbara, starting with a group breath into the camera for Barbara starting now.
From what a couple of you said, it reminded me of why I came to speaking circles, and it I want to be able to think on my feet and talk about something in my heart in a way that is clear and honest and willing to take that first step. So yeah, so I was just reminded that I did that again today. Good. Yeah, I have such a deep belief that everyone's actions make sense from their point of view, but it's not my belief. I've picked it up other places, but everybody's unique history, it makes sense. Even with the guy that goes unnamed, it makes sense what he does to him. Sure, I can find compassion for him. He just shouldn't be where he is. He should have had 20 years of therapy under his belt by this point. So, but it's really important for me not to be arrogant. It makes sense to them, and what I do makes sense to me. I wasn't allowed to have a voice growing up, and so it's important for me to be able to have one and to be just speaking for myself and speaking honestly. So I am grateful. Thanks again, and always, Lee. Thank you all.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you,
Thank you, Barbara.
Completing with Joy, starting with a group breath into the camera for Joy, starting now.
It's so amazing to have all of you here and not have a clue about what I'm going to say, but more importantly, not having to be so perfect and prepared and kind of artificial. I mean, you can be real, and it just feels like you then have more accountability, more responsibility to just be you and nobody else. You just get to be you here, and hopefully that spreads beyond here. But the idea is the idea of embracing our imperfection and having that be kind of charming and certainly okay. You get to be you, because where your character emerges is around those imperfections, right? And I just, it was such a weird discovery in this process that we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to speak perfectly. We don't have to apologize for any kind of mispronunciation or misuse of language, or you just get to be you. And I love that ease of just, okay, so I can say anything and not be embarrassed or ashamed or self-doubting. I think that's just the coolest thing. And that does go out into the world with me anyway now. It took a while. But thank you.
Oh, thank you, Joy.
Thank you, Joy.
Thank you, Joy.
I'm going to take a couple of minutes to complete, and because everybody talked about the election, so I get to tell you that for the last 4 months, I've been having these election circles. Started 4 months ago, calling them election anxiety circles. And when Kamala came in, they became election celebration circles. But once again, they became anxiety circles. And now they became grief circles. They are now officially called good grief post-election circles. And I do them Fridays at noon. And tomorrow is going to probably be an hour and a half, maybe 12, 13 people. What I've gotten over the months is all these perspectives every possible thought, and the intelligence, just like the intelligence here, shows up there. So I've had so much of this that I still don't know what to think, but it's impossible to know what to think. I think that's what it comes down to. So let me know, email me if you're interested in checking one out. We don't use speaking circle. We don't call names. We don't, a lot of the people don't come to circles, but they've become circle type people. Someday I'll, if we ever find peace, I'll get them all into circles. Meanwhile, thank you for a lovely
Thank you.
nervous system relaxation. And maybe I'll see all or most of you in 2 weeks. Happy Thanksgiving. Group hug.
I'm grateful for you guys.
I'm grateful.
Yes, happy
Nice to see you.
Thanksgiving.
Nice
Me
to meet you,
too,
Jim.
me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so final group breath together.